Welcome back. Simple Truth. We're in Genesis chapter 40. In case you haven't noticed, I haven't got very far. So it may actually be like next Easter before I finish the story of Joseph, because every 3 words has me like stuck, and I'm going to get there again this time because I'm just overwhelmed with application. Now you might be looking at this and going, Andy, you're making a humongous deal. Well then, guess what? I'm making a humongous deal, right? So God and I are having a conversation. You're getting to listen in on my conversation with God, right? So again, most people like to talk about God, to God about other people. They like to talk about other people, but I'm giving you an opportunity to listen to God and I talk, right? And then you're getting it firsthand. So here we go. I want to pick up in verse 4. It says, the captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them. He attended them. They continued for some time in custody. Look at the last part of that. They continued for some time in custody. I'd like to go back to the video I made just the other day, which is the same day because I'm wearing the same shirt, which said after a time, right? After a little bit of time, right? Listen, God is so big on that whole thing. Why? What does Joseph have to do? He's learning how to take care of people. So I was talking to a good friend of mine just 5 seconds ago. We were talking about this really cool concept called pit buddies. Everybody needs a pit buddy. You do understand that prisons at this time were pretty much pits, right? They were stone quarries, things like that, where the prisoners did work and they did all kinds of stuff. And then they had these little cells, these little rooms, all these kind of things, right? So pit buddies is an unbelievable good name for what was going on here, right? So on both sides of this, right? Joseph is stuck. He's confined in prison. God didn't leave him alone in prison. God gave him pit buddies, people that he was to take care of. By the way, the baker, right, and the cupbearer, they get to go to prison. They weren't left alone. What were they given? Pit buddy, right? They were given Joseph to take care of them. If everybody does what they're supposed to be doing wherever they're planted, imagine how that works, right? And sometimes we discard things, right? So my friend was telling me the story about a hoverboard, right, that some kids with special needs got a hold of, right? So you can imagine, like, that's a really cool thing. But somebody had discarded a hoverboard, thrown it away. A la cupbearer, right, and baker. The Pharaoh had discarded them, right? He put them to the side of the road. I don't want them anymore. I have no use for them. I have no need for them. So he put them off to the side, right? This hoverboard was put off to the side of the road. One of these kids picked it up, dusted it off, and realized, hey, there's still use in this. This is perfectly fine. There's something to this, right? You know what happens with pit buddies is a lot of times we end up in the pit for several different reasons. Not always good reasons. Sometimes we've been discarded. Sometimes we've been thrown away. Sometimes we feel like we've been discarded and thrown away. Sometimes people are saying, you have no value anymore, right? Sometimes that's on purpose. Sometimes it's because of what we've done, they've done. There's all kinds of reasons to end up in the pit, right? And again, we've talked about the fact that you don't have to be in an actual prison to be in prison. You can be walking around today feeling like you're in a pit. And you know what you need? You need a pit buddy. God cares about pit buddies. It's not by accident. Do you know that God's going to use these 2 people to help Joseph get where he needs to go? And sometimes it's going to feel like Joseph wasn't really, like he wasn't really in prison with them. Do you know these guys are all on the same page, right? All 3 of them are in prison. Joseph just is attending to other people in prison. When you and I stop and we realize we're in the same place, look around you. Those people in church with you, they need the same Jesus that you do. Look around you. Those people in your workplace, they need the same Jesus that you do. But if we're not careful, sometimes we forget that we're in the pit and that we need buddies, that we're supposed to attend to each other's needs. Sometimes we think that we're out of the pit. Listen, this earth, this earthly existence, this is a pit, right? This is not what we're playing for. I have some really good things in my life, but I can't wait to get to heaven, because all those really good things, they get astronomically better. Matter of fact, all those people that I love and that I work hard to love, who may or may not annoy me at certain times, and I may or may not annoy them at certain times, all those people who have flaws that I know but I choose to overlook because, this is good, blah, blah, blah. When they get to heaven, they all become perfect. Perfect. Like the relationships that I'm working hard for right here on earth, they become perfect in heaven, right? So this earth is a pit. We need to understand that. We need to recognize that. That's exactly what Jesus saw when he came. He saw broken people, confined people, blind people, lame people, deaf people, mute people. He saw all kinds of people who were unhealthy. Those aren't my words. Those are his words. He said, listen, it's the unhealthy who need a doctor. And Jesus is the great physician. And he came, right? He came for that reason. Right? So we look at this, we say, listen, you need a pit buddy. Right? You need a pit buddy sometimes because, right, you're trying to accomplish something. God is growing things. He's doing things. He's developing things. He's playing for a future dream and promise. All right? So what we want to do is make sure that we're not throwing away the very things that we need. And that we're not discarding those who have been thrown into the pit with us. That instead, what we're doing is doing what Joseph did. It says, Joseph attended them. One prisoner attending a couple other prisoners. So I guess here's the simple truth this morning. I'm still not getting where I want to get to. But the simple truth is this. Who are you in the pit with you? Do you recognize that you're in the pit? Or do you think you're standing outside of the pit looking down on these poor, miserable souls that are in this pit? You cannot attend people from a higher than them viewpoint. And Jesus said, those who want to be first need to be last. If you want to be greatest in the kingdom, you got to serve. And Jesus said it's about washing feet. Jesus was about ready to do the single greatest act this world has ever experienced. Die on a cross for us so that we might have salvation. And right before he did that, he did the lowest job in any household. He washed the feet of his disciples. Now, granted, Peter wanted a whole bath, right? But the idea is, man, before you can do great things for God, you might want to think about serving those pit buddies that are all around you. You might want to think about attending other people. See you next time. Simple truth.